You sit in the flickering candlelight, the smell of herbs and incense thick in the air. The healer, with his trembling hands and ancient tools, prepares for the ritual you have heard whispered about in hushed tones, the practice of bloodletting, mutters words of comfort, though his voice wavers with uncertainty. You know that many have died at the hands of this method, and yet, in this time, there is no other option. The lack of understanding about the true nature of disease in the human body leads to countless deaths, all under the guise of healing. And you were left in the cold, harsh reality that bloodletting was not a cure, it was an execution. The healer believes this is for your own good, but deep down, you cannot shake the feeling that you are being sacrificed to a brutal, archaic tradition that never once questioned its methods. Bloodletting, once a revered practice, is now known for its fatal consequences, but at this moment, it is your only choice. In this world where knowledge of the body is still in its infancy, the cure for almost every ailment is simple. Drain the bad blood, and the body will heal. The healer's hands move with practiced precision, but there is a finality to the motion that you cannot escape. This is not healing. This is the destruction of your very essence. The humors were believed to be the cause of disease: black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. But what happens when too much of this blood is removed? What happens when the body is drained, weakened by the very cure meant to restore it? As you look at the sharp lance in his hand, the fear creeps into your veins. You've seen this before, in the eyes of those who came before you, patients, who trusted in the methods of ancient doctors, only to find themselves weaker, drained, and closer to death with each passing moment. Bloodletting, they say, will restore balance to your humors, a sacred system that governs your health. But you know little of humors or medicine, only that this ritual has been practiced for centuries, and you are its next victim. The physician's hands shake as he places a leather strap around your arm, tightening it to draw the blood to the surface. As the lancet pierces your skin, you can feel your life slipping away with each drop of blood that spills into the basin. The practice, although performed with good intentions, has proven deadly time and time again. Now let's get to today's story. You are bound, helpless in a cold stone chamber. The flickering candlelight casts eerie shadows against the walls, and the air is thick with the acrid scent of incense. And mind is not the result of disease, but of evil spirits that have taken hold of you. The priest raises his hands in prayer, invoking the name of God, and his words grow louder, more frantic. The exorcism does not heal, breaks you piece by piece. When it finally ends, you are left broken, exhausted, and forever changed. You are not the same person you were before, and though the priest may claim victory, you know that the true evil lies not within your body, but within the practices that bind you to this world of fear and ignorance. The air grows heavier with each passing moment, and you feel as though the very walls of the room are closing in. The priest's eyes burn with an intensity you cannot understand. The ritual is beginning. It is not a remedy for fever or a treatment for the broken body. It is a battle for your soul. And as the priest presses his hands against your forehead, you feel a sudden surge of pain, a shock that runs through you like electricity, as though your very essence is being torn apart. In front of you stands a figure, not a healer in the conventional sense. The ritual is violent, both mentally and physically, as the priest fights to expel what he believes to be the demon within. But the true horror of the practice lies not in its brutality, but in its power. It is the power of belief, of faith, that holds you captive. The belief that evil can take root in the human body, that sickness can be a spiritual affliction, gives the priest authority over your very existence. You scream, but your cries are drowned out by the priest's frantic prayers. The pain intensifies, and you realize that there is no escape. The exorcism is not a cure, it is a form of torture, a relentless attempt to control what it cannot possibly understand. But a priest, his hands trembling as he prepares to perform the ritual that will supposedly free you from the possession of demons. To him, your illness, your pain, your madness, these are not the results of natural causes, but the workings of the devil himself. It is not your body that suffers, but your soul, tainted by unholy forces. You have heard of the exorcism, the ancient and terrifying practice that seeks to rid the body of demonic influence. But until now, you never thought it would come to this. The words are a blur as the priest chants in an ancient tongue, his voice rising and falling in a rhythm that seems to reach deep into your very core. You are told that you are possessed, that the sickness that ravages your body, the exorcism, though it claims to be a form of healing, is an act of terror. As the ritual continues, you feel your body being pulled in all directions, your spirit torn between the fear of the unknown and the desperate need to be free. You lie on the cold stone slab, your head immobilized by leather straps that bind you to the table. The healer approaches, his hands steady, but his eyes betraying a certain unease. The spirits that have taken hold of your mind, the imbalances that cloud your thoughts, these must be set free if you are ever to be healed. As the drill touches your skin, you feel a sharp sting, a cold shock that sends a wave of panic through your body. You feel the weight of centuries of ignorance pressing down on you. The healer's hands shake as he continues, convinced that he is doing the right thing. But you know the truth, that this practice is not a cure, but a further condemnation of your existence. Trepanation, though it may have been intended to save you, is nothing more than an act of brutal experimentation on a body that is already broken. The pain lingers long after the drill is removed, and you are left with a hollow emptiness inside your head, both physically and mentally scarred by the practice. The drill bites into your skull, the pressure mounting as the healer pushes deeper into your head. You scream, but the sound is swallowed by the stone walls that surround you. The pain is unbearable, and yet you are helpless, unable to escape the horrifying reality of the procedure. Before you is a simple yet terrifying tool, a drill, its sharp metal tip glinting in the candlelight. It was believed that by opening the skull, the spirits that cause these ailments could be released, allowing the patient to regain their health. But the true horror of trepanation lies not in its intent, but in its execution. The practice is barbaric, and the outcomes are often catastrophic. Infection, brain damage, and death are common results. But these are seen as unfortunate casualties in the pursuit of healing. The healer, though skilled in his craft, has no true understanding of the human brain. He operates in a world of ignorance, where belief in spirits and balance outweighs any understanding of anatomy. You have heard of this practice, though you never thought it would happen to you. Trepanation, the act of drilling a hole into the skull to release the pressures of the mind. In this world, it is believed that the mind, when afflicted by illness or madness, can only be healed by releasing the pressure that builds inside the skull. It is a belief that has endured for centuries, passed down through the generations, though its practice remains terrifying and deeply misguided. The healer explains that the pressure inside your head must be relieved, that it is the key to your salvation. In medieval times, trepanation was considered the answer to a host of afflictions, from seizures to mental illness. As the drill continues its torturous path, the plague is upon you. It is everywhere, spreading through the streets, infecting the very air you breathe. You can see the bodies piling up in the streets, the pallor of death hanging in the air like a heavy fog. In the midst of this chaos, there is a figure who moves through the streets, a man clad in strange attire, a long black robe, gloves, and a mask shaped like a bird's beak. The plague doctor. They are the ones who claim to have the cure, the ones who offer themselves as the last line of defense against the disease. Their masks are filled with herbs, supposed to protect them from the miasma, the toxic air that was believed to carry the disease. But as you watch them move through the town, you can't help but wonder, do they know what they are doing? Or are they simply as lost as everyone else? The beak masks, with their large, eerie protrusions, are meant to ward off the disease. They are filled with sweet-smelling herbs like rose, lavender, and camphor, believed to purify the air. The doctors wear these masks in the belief that they can protect themselves from the plague, but in truth, they are just as powerless as the people they try to save. The miasma theory, believing that disease was spread through bad air, led to these bizarre outfits, symbol of the fear and ignorance that defined the medieval response to the plague. But even the most elaborate protection could not stop the disease. The Black Death spread relentlessly, wiping out entire villages and towns. The doctors, though they were thought to have knowledge, were often no more successful than the common folk in preventing the spread of the disease. As you watch them pass their beak masks, an unsettling reminder of how little was understood about disease in these times, you realize the terrifying truth. The plague doctors were not saviors, but mere symbols of a world gripped by fear. Their protective masks were a desperate attempt to control the uncontrollable. And though they wore them with the belief that they were saving lives, the reality was much darker. No amount of herbs or masks could protect against the invisible killer that claimed so many lives. The plague was unstoppable, and the doctors, like the rest, were left to suffer in its wake. The room is suffocating, filled with the stench of smoke and burning flesh. You lie on a cold stone table, bound tightly with leather straps. The healer hovers above you, his face a mask of grim determination. He holds a long, glowing iron rod in his hands, the metal bright red from the fire that has been stoked beneath it. Cauterization, the method they say will cure you. You feel the heat radiating from the iron, its promise of healing through pain treatment that would seal your wounds and stop bleeding, perhaps kill the infection that is slowly consuming you. But there is no guarantee, no certainty. You are only a subject in an experiment that will either save or destroy you. The healer speaks in a voice that is eerily calm, as though the agony you are about to experience is nothing more than a minor inconvenience in the great scheme of things. He explains that the burning of flesh, though excruciating, will stop the infection from spreading and prevent death. The moment the metal touches your skin, you feel an unbearable shock of pain that courses through every fiber of your being. It's as though your very soul is being seared away. You scream, but the sound is muffled, swallowed by the suffocating heat and the oppressive silence of the room. The pain is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is not just physical, it is a violation, a brutal assault on your body and your senses. The healer's hands are steady, yet there is no comfort in the touch of someone who believes that this suffering is for your own good. You want to resist, to break free, but the straps hold you firm, and there is no escape. The heat from the rod is supposed to cauterize the wound, sealing the blood vessels and killing the disease in the process. The idea of using fire to cure wounds dates back centuries, an ancient practice rooted in belief rather than science. To them, fire is not just a destructive force, but a purifying one, a method to cleanse the body of its impurities. But you are no fool. You know that this is not healing. This is butchery, masquerading as salvation. As the iron comes closer, you feel the heat intensify, the air around you thick with the smell of burning flesh. This practice, though widespread in the medieval world, is rooted in the desperation of a time that lacked any understanding of infection, germs, or the true nature of healing. The belief that heat could purify, could cleanse the body of disease, was an idea that persisted despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. For centuries, cauterization was performed on the sick, the wounded, and the dying, in the hopes of stopping infections or sealing up wounds that might otherwise fester. But what many did not realize was that the heat of the iron could also burn deep into the tissues, causing further injury, scarring, and infection rather than healing it. The practice often did more harm than good, leaving the patient in agony, their body scarred both inside and out. And yet, this brutal method endured for centuries, held by a belief system that valued tradition over reason and pain over comfort. As the iron is removed from your skin, the searing heat begins to dissipate, but the damage remains. You can feel the raw, charred flesh beneath your skin, the pain radiating from the wound like a living thing. The healer steps back, satisfied with his work, but you know that the damage is done. The wound may stop bleeding, but the infection still lingers, and the pain will never truly subside. You have been burned, not healed, and though the procedure may have seemed like the only option at the time, it has left you scarred for life. The belief in cauterization, in the purifying power of fire, has left its mark on your body and soul. You are left to wonder, how many others have suffered like you, trapped in a cycle of medieval brutality, where pain was seen as the path to salvation. In the flickering torchlight, the figure of the accused stands before you, her hands bound tightly behind her back. She has been dragged into this dark chamber, accused of witchcraft, a charge that is as terrifying as it is unjust. You watch as the priests and doctors stand in a circle, their faces cold and emotionless. To them, this is not a trial for justice, it is a trial for truth. In a world where medicine was still in its infancy, where the human body was understood only through superstition and myth, these women became the scapegoats for a society that did not understand illness or affliction. The practices used to cure them were not healing, they were a manifestation of the fear and darkness that plagued the medieval mind. They believed that this woman's suffering will reveal her guilt, that her body will betray her and reveal the dark forces that possess her soul. This is not medicine, this is torture, plain and simple. The belief that a person's suffering could reveal the truth has only led to more suffering. And you are left to wonder how many lives have been ruined by the fear of what cannot be understood. In the end, these trials, these practices, were not about healing, they were about control. About stripping away the humanity of those who were deemed other or dangerous. And as you watch the woman disappear into the darkness, you know that her suffering is just one of many that has been inflicted in the name of medicine, in the name of belief, in the name of fear. The torture is not meant to extract confessions alone, it is meant to cure her, to rid her body of the evil spirits that they believe have taken hold of her. The practices they employ are brutal, designed not just to extract information, but to break the spirit and body of the accused. The woman is subjected to a series of medical tests meant to prove her guilt. Their bodies were examined for witches' marks, which were believed to be the marks of the devil's touch. These could be anything from birthmarks to moles, and in many cases, these marks were fabricated or misinterpreted. The accused were often subjected to brutal physical tests such as the swimming test, where they were bound and thrown into water, with the belief that only witches would float. If they survived, it was taken as proof of their guilt, and they were often subjected to even more severe forms of torture. In other cases, women were burned alive, their bodies destroyed by fire in an attempt to rid the world of their supposed evil. Her body is prodded, pierced, and burned as the doctors perform their cruel rituals, all in the name of discovering the truth. They say they are looking for marks of the devil, signs that the woman is not just sick, but possessed by an evil that can only be purged through pain. The torture is not just physical, it is mental and emotional, a process of breaking her down piece by piece until there is nothing left but the confession they seek. In the medieval world, women who were accused of witchcraft were often subjected to horrific treatments. But the truth is that these women were not witches, nor were they possessed. They were simply victims of fear and ignorance. As the woman is led away, her body bruised and broken, you cannot help but feel the weight of what has transpired. The chamber is silent except for the sound of your heartbeat echoing in your chest. You stand in front of the device, an imposing iron construct that has become infamous for its gruesome use during the medieval period. The spikes, though not immediately visible, seem to loom ominously within the dark recesses of the chamber. The healer or judge who oversees this practice speaks to you in a soft, almost comforting voice, as though this is a necessary process, a means of cleansing the soul. As the doors close around you, your breath quickens, and the cold metal presses against your body like a vice. Though it is often associated with medieval torture, the idea of cleansing through suffering was rooted in deeply religious beliefs about sin and redemption. The body was thought to be a vessel that could be purged of its evil through violent means. And many believed that enduring pain in such a brutal form was not only a way to atone for sins, but a path to salvation. But in reality, it was nothing more than a grotesque, inhuman practice, one that caused more suffering than any form of healing. The Iron Maiden, a symbol of medieval cruelty, left its victims broken and discarded, their bodies mangled in the name of purification. The spikes are there, hidden, but you know they will find their mark. The device has been designed with precision, a balance between pain and death. The longer you remain within, the more your body is impaled, slowly as the sharp points pierce your skin. The blood that flows is meant to cleanse, but the agony is beyond belief. The Iron Maiden doesn't just break your body, it breaks your will, your very essence. You are not just physically sick, he tells you. You are morally and spiritually impure. Suffering you are about to endure is not just physical, it is a purification of your very soul. The real cure was knowledge, understanding, and the ability to see the human body as more than a tool for punishment. The Iron Maiden may have been a fixture of medieval medicine, but its legacy is one of darkness and terror. A reminder of how far the human race was willing to go in the name of healing, even when the healing itself was nothing more than an illusion. The Iron Maiden, a supposed method of purification and punishment, awaits. Its metal doors creak as they open, revealing a hollow interior lined with sharp spikes. There is no question of what this machine is designed to do. Its purpose is as macabre as it is chilling. For many in this era, the Iron Maiden was not just a device of torture, but a tool to cleanse the body of sin, illness, or even political dissent. To those who believed in its power, the idea was simple. The body must endure pain in order to achieve redemption, and suffering was the path to healing. As you are forced closer to the device, you can see the faint traces of bloodstains upon its interior, remnants of those who have been subjected to its brutal embrace. With a trembling hand, the executioner moves to lock the doors of the Iron Maiden around you. You stand frozen, feeling the cold metal press against your body, the sharp points threatening to pierce your skin. But this is not the worst of it. The true horror lies in the belief that this is a form of healing that somehow, by submitting to this barbaric contraption, you will be cleansed of your sins, or in some cases, your illness. The Iron Maiden, with its cruel design, was often used not only as a method of execution, but as a way to bring about purification or redemption through suffering. It was believed that the very act of enduring this torture could purify a person's soul, making them clean in the eyes of God or society. But what is purification really? Is it the release of pain or the crushing of the spirit? The truth behind the Iron Maiden is darker than any mythology. You are left with a single unsettling thought as you are released from the device. Suffering was not the cure. It was never the cure. You sit in the dimly lit room, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows across the stone walls. The healer is speaking to you, his voice calm, almost soothing. As he explains the system of humors, the ancient belief that your health is governed by 4 bodily fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow, bile, and black bile. Too much blood, for example, must be drained, while excess bile must be expelled from your body through vomiting or other means. It sounds archaic, yet the healer assures you that this is the only way to restore balance to your humors and cure your ailments. The bloodletting, the purging, the vomiting all are meant to restore balance, to cure your ills. The humors, once seen as the key to understanding health, have become the force that leads you into further suffering, proving that belief, when unchecked by reason, can destroy as much as it heals. But as the blood flows from your body and the bile is expelled, you feel weaker and weaker. The balance you seek does not come. Instead, you are left broken, drained, and hopeless. The humoral system may have been a foundational theory in medieval medicine, but it was one that did more harm than good. The methods were not cures, they were torturous rituals designed to fit a theory that had no true understanding of disease or the body's functions. His hands are steady, the tools at his side sharp, but there is something unsettling about the way he speaks. This system, this understanding of the human body, has been around for centuries. It's passed down from the ancient Greeks and Romans, and yet you cannot shake the feeling that there is something deeply wrong about it. These humors, he tells you, must be in perfect balance to ensure good health. Too much of one, and you fall ill. It's too little, and you weaken. The goal is to restore balance, to ensure that all 4 humors flow in harmony, and only then can the body be healed. But you cannot help but wonder, how can something so simple, so theoretical, hold so much power over your body? The healer explains that the treatment for your condition is simple. The excess humors must be removed from your body through methods like bloodletting or purging. The truth behind the humoral theory is that it is based not on science, but on observation, on the belief that the body is a reflection of the world itself, a microcosm of the universe. The 4 humors were thought to correspond with the elements. Blood was linked to air, phlegm to water, yellow bile to fire, and black bile to earth. When these elements were out of balance, illness would result. The medical practice of the time, though seemingly logical to those who believed in, it was a trial and error process, based more on ritual than on true understanding. The belief in the humors persisted for centuries, guiding much of medieval medicine, despite its lack of empirical evidence. As you undergo the treatment, the reality of the humors becomes all too clear. You wonder as you lie there whether the treatment will ever end, whether the bleeding will stop, or if the very balance the healer seeks will come at the cost of your life. The sick room is filled with the scent of boiling herbs. They're sharp. He explains the ingredients. Willow bark for pain. Its taste sharp and medicinal. He believes he is saving you, but in truth, he is gambling with your life. But when they fail, as they so often do, the patient is left worse than before. It is a vicious cycle of hope and despair, of faith placed in ancient practices that were far more likely to harm than to heal. You are left wondering whether the sickness that plagues you would have been better left untreated, or whether you have merely exchanged one affliction for another. The herbal remedies that once seemed so comforting, so natural, now feel like a betrayal. Some remedies, like those made from the deadly nightshade, could cause your body to spiral into paralysis, while others, like the use of mercury, could poison your system beyond repair. The very hands that mix these herbs are unaware of the danger they bring, believing in a healing power that is far more unpredictable than they care to admit, and wait. At first, there is nothing, no relief, no change. But then, your body reacts. The room spins, the heat of the fever intensifies, and you feel a wave of nausea sweep over you. The herbs, the very remedies that were supposed to heal you, are now turning against you. The line between cure and poison is dangerously thin in this time. The healer watches you closely, but you are no longer sure whether he sees you as a patient or as an experiment. The herbal remedies of the Middle Ages were as often dangerous as they were helpful, with many of the plants used in their concoctions being toxic when misused or misunderstood. The belief in the healing power of nature was not based on science, but on the unverified faith that the earth provided everything needed to heal the human body. And yet, these very same plants could kill as easily as they could cure. Elderflower for fever, and a mixture of other herbs that he believes will cleanse your body and restore balance. He tells you that these are the remedies of ancient times, trusted by many, and that they have the power to heal what ails you. But as you sip the bitter liquid, you can feel something else, the weight of centuries of belief and ignorance pressed into every drop. The knowledge of herbs and plants was limited, based on trial and error, on what worked for some and failed for others. Some remedies, like the willow bark, may offer a semblance of relief, but others, like the deadly poison of hemlock or the dangerous hallucinogenic properties of mandrake, lurk in the shadows of these ancient concoctions. Pungent aromas drifting through the air like a thick fog. You're seated on a small wooden stool, your body weary, your mind clouded by the fever that has taken hold of you. The healer stands before you, his hands moving quickly as he prepares the remedy and elixir, a concoction of herbs that has been passed down through generations. The healer assures you that this potion will cure your illness, that it will bring you back to health, but there is a flicker of doubt in your mind. You've heard stories, rumors of these herbal remedies, how they could cure ailments, but also how they could cause more harm than good. As the healer pours the dark liquid into a small glass, you swallow the elixir. As you struggle to remain conscious, you realize that the healer's faith in his remedies, though earnest, is misplaced. When the healing herbs work, they do so by trial and error, and even then, they may offer only temporary relief. The pain is unbearable, like fire coursing through your body. You lie in a dimly lit room, surrounded by midwives and healers who whisper over you, their hands cold and rough. The midwives invoke prayers to the saints, calling upon divine intervention to ensure that you and your child survive the ordeal. There is no understanding of anesthesia, and the pain is sharp, unrelenting. Some survived, some did not. Some children were born into the world, while others were lost in the process. The birth of a child is supposed to be a joyous occasion, but in the medieval world, it is a battle for survival. There is no guarantee that you will make it through, no promise that the child you carry will live. The midwives, though they try to comfort you with their prayers and their promises, cannot control the outcome. They can only hope that the birth will go smoothly, that the child will be born safely, and that you will live to hold it in your arms. But even that is no certainty. Some midwives attempt to assist the birth with forceps, tools that are used to pull the child from the womb. There is no true understanding of what makes a safe birth, no knowledge of proper hygiene or techniques that could prevent infection. The medieval world simply did not have the means to protect its women during one of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. And so, many women were lost in the act of bringing life into the world, victims of the darkness that enveloped childbirth in this time. But these instruments often cause more harm than good, tearing the mother and child apart in the process. Others may use herbs to induce labor, but these potions can be dangerous, leading to complications that could endanger both your life and that of your child. The lack of medical knowledge means that childbirth is often a dangerous gamble, a matter of life or death, where the stakes are impossibly high. The belief is that the birth is a sacred event, a moment in which the soul must be protected, not just the body. You have heard stories of women who have died in childbirth, their bodies torn apart by the process, or those who have lost their children to the many dangers that lurk in the womb. You know that you are not guaranteed survival, and the pain you feel now is a harsh reminder of the risks you face. You have been in labor for hours, the pain only growing worse with each passing moment. The room smells of herbs, sweat, and blood, a mixture of fear and desperation. Childbirth in the medieval world is a perilous endeavor, and you can already feel the heavy weight of that truth pressing down upon you. Midwives are often untrained, relying on ancient knowledge passed down through generations, some of which may be more harmful than helpful. Their remedies are a mix of faith and superstition. They promise to guide you through the birth, but they cannot promise you safety. In this time, childbirth is not just a physical struggle, but a spiritual one. The midwives attempt to ease your suffering, but their methods are crude. You cannot help but think of the women who have come before you, whose bodies were subjected to the same fears, the same rituals, the same uncertainty. The brutality of childbirth, combined with the ignorance of medical practices, leaves women at the mercy of fate. The flicker of candlelight casts eerie shadows against the stone walls, and the faint scent of incense fills the air. You stand in a humble room, its walls lined with ancient texts and handwritten scrolls, many of them worn with age. To this monk, healing is not about the body, but about the soul, the belief that your physical suffering is a sign of spiritual discord. The herbs, though they may ease your pain or treat your symptoms, are secondary to the rituals that the monk believes will save you. The monks were often the only ones who could offer any form of care. They were trusted by the people, revered for their connection to God, and relied upon for healing, despite their lack of true medical knowledge. Their understanding of the body was limited. Their practices rooted in a time when faith and superstition were more trusted than science. And so, the medieval world continued to place its trust in faith over reason, in prayer over cure, and in belief over knowledge. You are not just a patient to him, but a soul in need of salvation. And it is through faith, through prayer, that you will find healing. The monk speaks softly, offering prayers in Latin, invoking the names of saints and angels to watch over you, to guide your body back to health. The medicine he prepares is simple, mostly herbs, like thyme, sage, and lavender butt. It is made sacred through his devotion. In the corner, a monk, his face weary and pale from years of devotion, prepares a concoction of herbs, believed to be both a remedy for your ailment and a prayer for your soul. The monk's methods, though rooted in good intentions, lack the understanding of anatomy, hygiene, and disease that modern medicine has. The belief that divine intervention can cure all ailments blinds him to the very real risks that his treatments pose. The monk's faith may provide comfort, but it cannot stop infection, cannot cure diseases that are beyond the reach of simple remedies. And so, many who seek his aid leave not healed, but further broken, their bodies ravaged by the ignorance that surrounds them. The monk's medicine, while perhaps offering a glimmer of hope, is often no better than the ancient beliefs that caused so much suffering in the first place. Monastic medicine is rooted in the faith that God controls the body, and that healing comes not just through science, but through divine intervention. The monk, though skilled in the preparation of herbal remedies, is bound by the belief that prayer and sacred rituals hold more power than any human knowledge. You are told that this medicine is blessed, imbued with the power of the saints and the protection of the holy. But there is a darker side to this faith-based healing. In the medieval world, the healer's hands are steady as he prepares the leeches, placing them carefully into a glass jar, their small, wriggling bodies ready to serve their intended purpose. Leeching, a practice that has been used for centuries, is about to take place. You are told that the leeches will suck out the bad blood from your body, purging you of disease, illness, and imbalance. When the humor's blood, phlegm yellow, bile, and black bile out of balance, illness follows. Leeches were used to remove the excess blood, believed to be the root of many diseases, especially fever, headache, and congestion. but the practice had little basis in science, and often it did more harm than good. The leeches, while drawing blood from the body, did not target the disease, and instead left the patient weakened and vulnerable to further infections. The idea is simple. By drawing out the bad blood, your body will be restored to balance, and your health will improve. But the reality is much darker, and you cannot shake the feeling of dread as you watch the healer prepare for the procedure. The room smells of wet earth and old herbs, and you can feel the weight of centuries of belief pressing down on you. The leeches are placed on your skin, and the sensation is immediate: the cold. Slimy bodies attach themselves to your flesh, their tiny mouths sucking greedily at your blood. At first it is merely uncomfortable, but as the minutes stretch into hours, the pain intensifies. You can feel the blood being drawn from your body, the life force that sustains you slipping away. The healer watches closely, convinced that this process will bring you relief. But you can feel the cold emptiness that accompanies each drop of blood. The practice of leeching, though widely accepted, is based on a theory that the body's humors must be kept in balance to ensure health. For centuries, leeching was practiced by doctors, priests, and healers, all convinced that the procedure was a cure for a variety of ailments. Yet, despite the widespread use of leeches, there was little understanding of how they worked, and the consequences of the practice were often devastating. The body was drained of blood, leaving it fragile and susceptible to disease, and many patients died not from the ailments they sought to cure, but from the effects of leeching itself. The healer, unaware of the danger, continues to let the leeches feed, convinced that they are doing good. But you know the truth: you are not being healed, you are being drained. And as the blood flows out of you, you wonder how many before you have suffered the same fate. Convinced that leeching was the cure for their woes, only to find themselves weaker and closer to death with each passing moment. The surgeon's hands are rough, his tools sharp and crude. You lie on the operating table, your body tense with fear as you await the procedure that will determine whether you live or die. There is no anesthesia here, no gentle lull into unconsciousness. You are awake, fully aware of the pain that is about to come. The surgeon explains that he must cut away the infected flesh, that the wound must be cleaned and sealed, but there is little comfort in his words. You are nothing more than a body to him, a problem to be fixed, and his methods are as brutal as the conditions that have led you here. Medieval surgery is a terrifying ordeal. There is no understanding of germs, no concept of infection control. The surgeon's tools are not sterilized, and the operating room is far from clean. You feel the cold steel of the scalpel as it presses against your skin, the first incision sending a shock of pain through your body. The surgeon works quickly, as though time is of the essence, but there is no concern for your suffering. The idea of pain relief is a distant dream, as you are forced to endure the agony of being cut open while awake and fully conscious. The blood flows freely, and the wound is left exposed as the surgeon works, his hands steady but unfeeling. You can hear the sound of the knife slicing through flesh, the sound of your own body being violated in the name of healing. This was the reality of medieval surgery, a brutal, almost savage practice that left patients at the mercy of their healers. Without anesthesia, the pain was unimaginable. And without any understanding of infection or hygiene, the risk of death was ever present. Surgeons often had little formal training, relying on crude methods passed down through generations. In some cases, surgery was performed by barbers or other untrained individuals, who operated with little more than a basic knowledge of anatomy and a strong stomach for blood. The procedures were dangerous, and many patients died from infections or complications that could have been avoided if the surgeons had known even the basics of antiseptic techniques. As you lie on the table, your body cut open and exposed, you realize that this is not healing. It is butchery, plain and simple. And though the surgeon may believe that he is saving you, you know that you are at the mercy of a system that has no true understanding of medicine, no respect for the body's natural processes. You are nothing more than a specimen, a body to be sliced open and repaired with the hands of those who are still trapped in the darkness of ignorance. It is not the body that is to be fixed today, but the mind. You are led into the dimly lit chamber, the air thick with the smell of iron and antiseptic. In the medieval world, mental health was a subject of terror, misunderstood and feared. You are awake, fully conscious of the procedure, though the lack of anesthesia is a cruel oversight. The pressure mounts as the physician works, inserting an instrument into your skull. And you feel the horrifying sensation of your brain being poked, prodded, and scraped. It is a desperate attempt to control the uncontrollable, to impose order on a chaos that cannot be understood. And as you lie there, your body trembling, your mind slipping into a void, you realize that this is not a treatment, it is an execution, a violent act of suppression. Your soul is not freed, but bound in new ways, trapped within a body that has been irreparably altered. The medieval world, with all its ignorance and fear, has reached into your mind and torn it apart, all in the name of healing. There is no pain, not yet, but the terror is overwhelming. You are no longer a person to them, you are a problem to be fixed, a broken machine in need of repair. Those who were deemed insane or possessed were often subjected to brutal treatments meant to rid them of their afflictions. But none as horrifying as the lobotomy. The physician explains that the procedure will release the pressure in your mind, curing the insanity or madness that has taken root in your soul. He speaks with confidence, as though the slicing of the brain is no more painful than a simple operation, but you know the truth. This is not healing. It is an experiment, a gamble with your life and sanity. The physician's hands tremble as he prepares the tools, sharp, invasive, and unnervingly cold. This is the moment when science meets superstition, when the unknown is dissected and violated. There is no real understanding of how it works, only the belief that severing parts of the brain will cure mental illness. They claim it will reset the mind, but in reality, the lobotomy only leaves destruction in its wake. The patient is often left in a state of irreversible damage, their personality, memory, and identity shattered beyond repair. The promise of healing, of recovery, is nothing more than a lie, one that has been perpetuated for centuries by those who fear the mind's power and seek to control it. But as the surgeon presses forward, you feel your mind slip away. The very essence of who you are is being stolen, piece by piece, until nothing remains but a hollow shell. You have heard whispers of what is about to happen, but the reality is far more terrifying than you could have imagined. This is no gentle treatment. It's no remedy of comfort. This is a procedure of destruction, a brutal method believed to cure the mind of its afflictions. You are to be lobotomized. Lobotomy, a procedure in which parts of the brain are severed or damaged, was once considered a revolutionary treatment for mental illness. The process begins with a sharp incision above your eye. The surgeon's hand steady and unfeeling as the scalpel cuts through your skin. The procedure itself is a mystery, even to the physician. The lobotomy, though considered a treatment for mental illness, has never been a cure. You stand in the ruins of the past, surrounded by the remnants of a world that once believed in practices that seem almost too barbaric to comprehend. The world has changed, yet the echoes of the past still resonate in the present. Many of the modern treatments we take for granted today, surgery, the use of anesthesia, even the understanding of germs, were born from the painful trial lander of medieval doctors and healers. And yet the memory of those dark practices still haunts us. The human body, once seen as a vessel for demons, humors, and spirits, is now understood in scientific terms. But the scars left by centuries of misguided treatments remain. We have moved forward, but not without a price. You reflect on the dark, twisted methods that once ruled medicine: bloodletting, exorcism, trepanation. Modern medicine, though far more advanced, still carries the weight of its origins, the mistakes, the cruelties. The legacy of medieval practices lives on, not in the form of rituals and cruel treatments, but in the way we approach the body, the mind, and the soul. We have learned over time to treat the human body with respect, to understand its complexities. But the shadows of the past still remain, and they serve as a reminder of how far we have come, and how far we still have to go. And the horrors of a time when the body was a mystery to be solved through ritual, fear, and superstition. And as you look at the advancements we have made, you cannot help but wonder how much of the past lingers in the present. How much of our modern understanding is shaped by the darkness that once ruled medicine? How much of that darkness still shadows the way we heal today? And lobotomy, all born from a world that lacked understanding, that saw illness as a curse or a punishment. These practices, though abandoned by modern science, have left their mark on history, shaping the way we understand health, sickness, and the very nature of the human body. In the present, medicine has evolved, but its roots remain deeply entwined with the dark practices of the past. The legacy of the past reminds us that progress is not always linear, that healing does not come without sacrifice, and that the road to understanding is often paved with suffering. The history of medicine is one of progress, but it is also one of pain, ignorance, and brutal experimentation. As you stand in the silence of the past, you are left with a question that lingers in the air. How much of the darkness of history still affects us today? Modern medicine has come a long way, but the road to understanding has been long and brutal, paved with the bodies and suffering of those who came before us. And as we continue to push the boundaries of science and healing, we must remember that the lessons of the past are not just about progress, they are about the consequences of ignorance, of fear, and of the dangerous pursuit of knowledge without understanding. As we move forward, let us not forget the brutal practices that once defined medicine, and let us strive to heal not just the body, but the soul, ensuring that no one suffers in the name of healing ever again. If you found this tale haunting, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next chilling chapter of Dark Ages Chronicles. Up next, why you wouldn't survive a marriage in the Middle Ages? Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and never forget what came before us.